awesome. Oh my god.
Motorcycles are dangerous. We all know that, and it's part of the reason we are drawn to them. Something about hopping on a two-wheeled, land-based ballistic missile and feeling the wind flowing through your hair, all while hovering over asphalt that's about as abrasive as a one-ply toilet paper, works some black magic on the brain. We rev up the bike and stare death in the face with a middle finger raised to all of our survival instincts. Unfortunately, while they are fun, accidents happen, and while a lot of people try to find something to blame when they come up, they might often be looking in the wrong place. So today, in the interest of keeping you squid safe, your old Papa Yams is going to walk you through 7 of the most common types of motorcycle accidents that you're likely to encounter, some of their causes, and most importantly, how to avoid them. We're going from least common to the most common, and pay attention to the root causes of the most common ones. They might surprise you. Number 7 on the list of most common crashes is the lane switching crash, or more commonly called a side swipe. This occurs usually on highways, but you can encounter this when you're riding around in the city where a car next to you needs to quickly swerve out of the way of an obstacle and hits you, or vice versa. The problem here comes from either the driver or the rider not checking their blind spot. When it comes to cars, many models now come with blind spot monitors, which work great to highlight a 4,000-pound block of steel rolling next to a car, but 700 pounds worth of sport bike and rider might not trigger the sensor. An absent-minded driver who's used to checking only their blind spot monitor in the mirror, who fails to do a head check, might merge into a motorcyclist hitting him on the side. In case of the motorcyclist sideswiping the car, it's usually down to the fact that the biker doesn't think that they have a blind spot when they in fact do. Getting sideswapped is rarely fatal and can be usually corrected for fairly quickly, but it can knock the rider off course and into something heavy like an immovable car, or in the oncoming lane, or your mama up on the sidewalk. In both cases, one simple way to avoid this crash is simply doing a head check and making sure that there isn't anything in your blind spot, but I've got some extra tips for the motorcyclists out there. First is never ride in a car's blind spot. Drop back and make sure you're not in the mirror, or just pass them quickly to avoid getting sideswiped. Secondly, while I'm not an advocate of LPSL as an excuse for an ear-splittingly loud race pipe on the street, having a louder exhaust, and I'm putting some serious emphasis on the can part here, they can make it so that a driver hears you next to them. Don't assume though that they might be blasting some Ed Sheeran, feeling all those feels, and they don't notice you. Number 6, head-on collisions. These come in 2 forms, either a car or a bike drifting into the wrong side of traffic, or a car pulling in front of a bike while turning left at an intersection. These are the most dangerous and often the most fatal kind of wreck you can experience. The wrong side of traffic one is obvious, so I'm not going to dwell on it. Look ahead and ride on the outside of your lane. The one at an intersection is something you're more likely to experience in your daily riding routine. The human eye is really good at filtering out smaller moving objects when you're scanning for cars, so a driver might look you dead in the eyes while you're rolling through an intersection and then pull out in front of you anyway. To avoid this sort of accident, all you need to do is dress like a banana. I'm not kidding, wearing high-vis gear is a great way to draw attention to yourself when you're rolling through an intersection. Sometimes just wearing contrasting colors is good enough, like a white helmet and a red jacket and a black bike. You get the deal, contrast the colors and make a move. Another thing you can do is slow down when approaching an intersection. Humans are really bad at judging speed and distance, so giving someone who's miscalculated your speed a little more time to get out of your way helps. It has the added benefit of decreasing your braking distance too. Number 5, rear-ending. The crash type most laden with innuendo, Beavis and Butthead style snickering. As the name implies, being rear-ended involves someone hitting you from behind. It's kind of in the name. There's 2 ways you'll encounter this one, and the first is when you're at a stop, hit by a car that is moving. Usually this is caused by the driver behind you being distracted by something and just not noticing that traffic has stopped in front of them. It's very common in the city and during rush hour traffic. To avoid this one, the best thing you can do is filter through traffic. I'm not going to tell you to break the law if filtering is illegal where you are. This is a choice you need to make, but it gets out of the flow of traffic and will put a car between you and the cars behind you. If you're wondering why it's not legal in your state, it's probably because the American Motorcycling Association is too busy lobbying against helmet laws for boomers on Harleys than enacting life-saving policies. I stand by that opinion. The second kind of rear-ending accident occurs when you're on your bike and then you jam on the brakes and you stop faster than the car in front of you can. This sort of thing happens during rush hour on the highway and stop-and-go traffic. A bike can usually outbrake just about every kind of car thanks to our lighter weight and lower inertia, so the best thing you can do is if you need to jam on the brakes is to move a little bit on the outside of the lane or into the shoulder if there is one. That way the car will have a bit more room to stop and you won't get pancaked between two cars. Now, you're more likely to smash up your phone than you are your motorcycle, and you wear a helmet on your bike, so why don't you protect your phone? Rockform has you covered with a drop-tested phone case that'll protect your magic rectangle that talks to space so you don't have to pay someone a whole bunch of money to repair the screen. Better still, they have motorcycle mounts so you don't have to keep fumbling for your phone in your pocket through leather gloves. If you're riding around on a sport bike, they've got one simple screw mounts that work for any diameter stem, and if you've got a handlebar, you get yourself the 2-screw mount that's just as simple to install. Don't forget all their phone accessories like wireless chargers and sport rings and all that stuff, as well as their low-profile everyday carry wallet. Click that link down below and check out everything Rockform has to offer and use the code YN25 to get 25% off your order. Number 4, drunk riding. This is largely the purview of older bikers who spend their weekends pub crawling on their hogs, but younger riders aren't immune to this either. No matter what, drinking and riding doesn't mix. It's going to happen. You'll go out to a bike night or a group ride or whatever, order a burger or a wheatgrass smoothie, and you'll want a beer to wash it down with. You might end up ordering one just out of habit, but if you have a drink, you need to keep the keys in your pockets and call an Uber. Can you ride below the legal limit in your area? Maybe. Should you try it? No. You remember how that worked out for Anakin in Star Wars. Alcohol slows down your reaction time, it impairs your vision, results in you thinking the 300-pound bouncer is definitely in your weight class and worth picking a fight with. If you're going to ride to bike night, just have a soda, or if you have to have a long neck in your hand to fit in, then a lot of places have zero alcohol drinks. Just get one of them, or maybe stop hanging around with a bunch of people who can't seem to separate drinking from riding. Don't mix drinking and riding. Terrible idea. Number 3, it's excessive speed. Typically, excessive speed is listed as a contributing factor in accidents, but it's such a common occurrence in crash reports that I'm gonna give it its own category. Look, going fast is half the reason we like bikes. They wanna give you supercar performance for Honda Civic price. That's bang for buck right there. I'm an economist, guys. Come on, that's good stuff. They're about the most visceral way to fuel horsepower and torque goes. The only problem is the faster you go, the more risk you're taking. Like I mentioned a minute ago, speed increases stopping distance. It also decreases reaction time mid-corner. The faster you go, the more likely you are to hit the limit of your tire's grip, and it makes it harder for cars to judge how far away you are. The worst part about it is post-crash, if it's determined that you were speeding, it could shift fault, making your whole situation worse. The easiest way to avoid crashes caused by excessive speed is to just roll off the throttle. Look, I know it's pure sacrilege to even suggest it, but it is worth remembering that the street is not a racetrack. Not only are there cats and dogs and mom vans and little Timmy running out into the street chasing butterflies, but there's traffic lights and crappy pavement to contend with. To make an overly belabored point a lot shorter, just go to the track, my dude. It's literally designed for you to push your limits and go as fast as you can. But let's be real, you can't go to the track every time the speed demons whisper in your ear. In that case, you need to learn to pick your moments. Wait for the on-ramp on a highway or a road you know it's safe to do a nice pull on. The safety dads over on the subreddit R Motorcycles are probably going to be mad at me for saying it, but everyone speeds. Just make sure you're going to do it safely when you do. And no, it's not the sudden deceleration that kills you. It is actually speeding. Don't excessively speed, guys. Number 2, the high side. The most spectacular type of solo crash you can encounter and the best way to feel like Marc Marquez. The main way a high side happens is when your rear tire loses grip, starts to slide, then slows down and regains traction, almost like it decided that, no, I will get traction, actually, thank you very much. This results in a sudden and violent reapplication of power, the bike stands up straight, and you get yeeted into the wild blue yonder. We like to call it a rapid, unintentional dismount. The high side is the bane of street Rossis the world over, and it's usually 100% self-inflicted and results in both you and your bike in the shop for some serious repairs. Normally, a high side happens mid-corner when a rider gets spooked and jams on the brakes, their front suspension compresses and the rear tire starts to slip, and the next step in the cock-up cascade is the rider lets go of the brakes, trying to stop the skid, and their tire grabs the ground instantly. It is possible to safe a skid. Racers and dirt boys do it all the time. Basically, you want to roll roll off the throttle, pull on the clutch, and slowly ease that clutch to feed power back smoothly to the rear wheel. It's worth practicing backing it in a parking lot, so if you start accidentally skidding the rear wheel, you can recover and not Marquez yourself. Number 1, and the most common crash you'll see on a motorcycle, it's the low side, and it is 100% self-inflicted. You'll often hear people coming up with excuses like, "I just had to lay her down, brother." But there's pretty much no reason to intentionally crash your motorcycle. You don't hear people in cars saying, "Yeah, I was gonna hit something, so I just decided to open the door and jump out." But Yammie, you remember when Mav bailed at the Red Bull Ring instead of crashing? Yes, but he was going 200 miles per hour with no brakes, and you and your CBR 500R were doing 30 in a decreasing radius turn. Usually a low slide is caused by coming in too hot into a corner or trying to slow down while leaned over because a rider thinks they're at the edge of their tire's traction. You're not. I'm sorry, but you're just not. Unless you're rolling around in a 10-year-old cruiser rubber, you have way more grip than you think. Just trust those tires, look through the turn, and stay cool. You'll probably be fine. You're never going to have to lay her down, brother. Fact, in 1897, Indiana state legislatures tried to pass a bill that would have legally redefined the value of pi as 3.2. That is not how math works. Goodbye. All right, look, you don't have to lie to me. If you had time for one Yammie Noob video all the way to the end, you probably have time for another one. You should probably just click this link and watch the video right over here. I promise it's gonna be good. You won't regret it. Seriously, you should just click it. I'm sure it's good. We only make good stuff around here. You should just watch it. Why are you still here?